Welcome everybody, Pro Spartan Gamer here on eFootball, I suppose 2023. Haven't done any views on eFootball at all since it came out. Been quiet on it, put up a few goals and things like that on it. Obviously there's no real offline content Master League wise like I usually do a Master League series and things like that. But I thought time to have a little say on it, how I feel about it and what I feel about the actual gameplay and what I feel about the future, perhaps moving forward and those sort of things. Just straight off the bat, just want to turn around and say I think, you know, for all things eFootball, player reviews, weekly updates and all that sort of thing, you can't go wrong by subscribing or watching Pez Universe's videos. I think they do a fantastic job at looking at all the players and using the eFootball DB app, how you can upgrade them and all that, you know, go into it in a great deal of depth, and that's the place to look at that if you're interested in what players to sign, how to upgrade them, whether they're worth getting, and all the weekly news. This video, really me chatting about how I feel about eFootball, is totally my views. It's not based on any other person's views or opinions, or it's not to try and sell eFootball and for people to buy points and all that sort of stuff. And it's not a hate against perhaps FIFA if I say things against FIFA or anything like that. It's just purely my views. I have played FIFA this year. I got the ePlay 10 hour trial, because last year, I've got to admit, when there was no Master League, I did play an awful lot of FIFA, probably a couple hundred hours. I went really deep into a career mode, and I got to say I really enjoyed it. You know, it was one of the first years I'd really concentrated on playing a career mode on FIFA. And yeah, you know, it wasn't PES or Konami game, but it was decent, and I did bring some players up through the ranks, and had lifers like we do always with Spartans, and yeah, really did enjoy it. I just got this running here in the background. Really, it's a bit of a team that I put together, bit of a hybrid team, some old Spartans, some players that I like. I like Malolowski, I think he's fantastic. He reminds me very much of Stimage, but in a left-footed sort of format. Kamada's quite nice. Obviously we had Bodu previously, we've had Depay before on a PES, Razor Bazour. It's just a mixture. I think I got over 100 players on here at the moment, so it really is just trying people out and playing them, because that's all you've got at the moment. And on that note, yes, we all want extra content, especially if you're not an online player. I don't play many games online, hardly at all. I am offline, and I must admit a lot of the tournaments every week are rinse and repeat. Whether there's any way they could do something else and give you slightly more to go on, perhaps a few little leagues. I mean, the other day they did bring out the International Cup thing, but you know, perhaps some leagues would be good, a bit more, you know, the player stats. I know I harp on about it. Anyone follows me on Twitter will see I'm always on about where's your player stats, but you know, the commentator turns around and says when a player's scored 10 goals for you, or this their 100th appearance. Why can't we have that in a extra page, in a caption? You know, how many games has Memphis Depay played for me? How many games, how many goals has he got? How many assists? How many clean sheets has Quartar got? I mean, we haven't got Quartar in goal today, we've got the Croatian goalie, we've got him in team of the week, but it would just add something, wouldn't it? And you'd sort of think, oh, let's have him in there playing or whatever. I mean, for me,
Jim, who do you pick out?
I mean, I'm playing on top player here, which I probably could do going up, to be honest, to superstar. I'm not a big player of the skill moves, but I know you can do the skill moves on here, and they do come off quite well. You can pass it about. To me, the gameplay is decent, and I don't care. I see lots of polls on Twitter and stuff, people moaning about this game. First of all, it's a free game. Yes, we want more content. Secondly, the gameplay is good. I don't see how people could knock the gameplay. Yes, there's a few fundamental things that could be improved on. Isn't there with every game? Now you tell me, if you put FIFA on, are you saying the gameplay, everything about the gameplay is brilliant? Because unless you're like a hardened FIFA fan who's never ever played anything other than FIFA, I think you're lying. Because to me, I played FIFA and I was hoping it was going to be good because I had no Master League, so there was no career, but I just couldn't get into it this year. I just felt players, to me, always feel like they're on an ice rink. Defending was really difficult. And I think one thing that Konami always do really well is the player models, the proportions of them. You know, if you've got someone who's only 5'1" and like Barry McGuigan in his prime without an ounce of fat on him, then he looks like it and he plays like it. Low centre of gravity, you know, you can really feel it. But if you've got someone who's like built like your nan's brick shit out in the backyard, like say Jan Koller or even Aaron Haaland or whatever, you can feel it and you can see it. You can see the differences on the actual pitch between the sizes. I don't think it always. That is one thing I would say about the gameplay. The balance stat is quite a big stat, and I do feel sometimes with the bigger players, you know, your Lukaku's, your Haalands, your
Fabra,
people like that, the balance stat is a little bit too. You know, they get knocked off the ball too easy, and for me, that's the whole thing about a player like that. They wouldn't be getting knocked off the ball by someone who's a lot smaller than them, and that balance stat does seem to impact on that a little bit. I don't know what everybody else feels about that, but that is one stat that I would say. I like to play with a big boy up front, but I do feel like the balance stat probably prevents you from always going for the big boys, because even though you want to get it wide and get some crosses in, headers and stuff, it does feel sometimes that the balance stat really influences them on the ball. You can't really play it into them like there, because if they get bumped, they would lose possession quite quickly, which I don't think is quite accurate, but they are.
And that's been well dealt with.
Talking about, so I think this game, anybody who's ever played any incarnation of PES, and bearing in mind I've played Konami football games from when it was International Superstar Soccer right through. I've played the good, the bad and the ugly. I've been through the good PES 4, 5 and 6, PES 3, you know, the first Pro Evolution Soccer. Right up to probably one of my favourites was PES 13, and then obviously PES 16 I absolutely loved, because the Spartans won the Champions League and the Holy Grail, the treble. PES 20 I really enjoyed, you know, 2020. So I've played them all. I've played the bad, the 2008s and 9s, the 2014. What an absolute dross game that was. I mean, this is miles better than that. So anybody like criticising the gameplay and that on here, don't get confused with what content there is, because there's two totally different things. The fundamental gameplay on this game is pretty decent. You can have some really good games, you can have really good action, you can score some really nice goals. The goals you score are very varied, and again I would say that's a bit unlike FIFA. You tend to score 75% of the goals you score on FIFA are usually the same. You don't get that on eFootball. I don't know how many hours I've played eFootball since it's been out, probably getting on for nearly 200 at least. And I'm still scoring different goals. You don't get that with FIFA, I think if you haven't given this a go for a while, you need to give it another go. It's decent. The gameplay, you can play some really nice football on it. You can change things up. If you're willing to try out different players and the way they play, then you can have some fun with that, leveling them up different ways. Just finish this and then we'll look at the leveling up of players, because I'm quite interested how they're going to do that on Master League. I like the idea that you can make each player your own, because that's one thing I've always disliked about career modes and Master Leagues, perhaps apart from 2013 where you had the magic boots and you could buy things from the shop to upgrade players in the way you wanted to. I really felt that give it more of an individual gaming experience, and obviously on here you've got a little bit of that with how you level up the players using the possession points and the level training, which I quite like. So if you end up, I've just done the, I think it's the Amazing Attackers today that's just come out, and I've just, well, I got 3. I got Lewandowski, Felix and Pulisic, and I'm just thinking, oh, with Pulisic I'm just going to go total speed and dribbling. He's a super sub, just bring him off the bench. I'm not interested in anything else. Well, you can do that on here, which is really good. You can level them up exactly how you want to level them up. If you want someone to have, like, really stat based on kicking power and finishing or something, say for example, then you can. And I'm hoping that the Master League is going to be something similar with that when you level your players up. I'm hoping you can have that freedom so that not everybody has exactly the same players in the Master League, and you can still get those hidden gems and you can level them up. It's very important they don't cap them though as well, because if you end up like finding a player that's perhaps a 1-star on Dream Team and is never going to get over a, I don't know, 75, 78 rating, in Master League, if they play well for you and they're regularly one of your best players, you need to be able to make them a world star. Because I think, even though people say it's not realistic, if say Chris Wood or something ends up being as good as bloody Mbappe or whatever, maybe not with attribute wise, but why can't they be? At the end of the day, it's a video game. Doesn't have to be real life. And I think there is a place for the authentic real life experience, and there's also a place for your experience. And maybe that's what Konami need to look at. They need to look at perhaps having options of doing something different, not trying to go head to head. I know there won't be a FIFA career mode next year because obviously EA Sport and FIFA have parted ways, but perhaps don't look to make it exactly have your authentic Master League, have it how it used to be, you go into the certain divisions and everything else, but perhaps have options where you can, I've said it before on a previous video. God, what a goal that is from them! What a ball in from Kostic. Where you can, if you win, say the Premier League, you have an option then whether you take your side into one of the other European leagues or into a South American league and try and win the Copa Libertadores or something. Make it slightly different, because in my experience, once you've started winning stuff in a career football gameplay mode, they start to get a bit stale and boring. So if you had the option to move that team to another continent or another division, or even perhaps have a Legends section where once you've won the league you have an option whether you want to go in there or something. I think those sort of things would really give you something different. And then that brings me on to where I'd like to see them go with like the budgets and things. I'd love to see them give you options on budgets, on whether you want to build your stadium more to get more finance in, which will give you a bigger transfer pot, how much money you invest in youth, how much money you invest in your coaching staff, how much money you invest in the stadium, all that sort of stuff. Why not have options that you can have that if you want, you know? Just think that's what they've got to look at, and hopefully that's why it's taking so long, because they are going to come up with something that is different.
That's positional goals, the utilisation of space.
Because of the nature of them, you know, and coming from sort of Japan, Konami, there has always been that sort of sense of the sort of games and the sort of, you know, like the Pokemon and all those sort of things that have got more of a sort of, I don't know, sort of a role-playing side to it, and I think they need to stick to that. And I think would be good if they did. So that's where, like the boots in 2013, a lot of people slated them, but the actual idea of being able to upgrade players in the way you wanted to was a great idea, and they've obviously done that on Dream Team, and they need to continue with that into when they eventually bring out the Master League. I'm hoping it's going to be early part of 2023, but I've got no knowledge of that, so don't go quoting me on that. It may not be until autumn 2023. We're losing this game, probably because I'm not concentrating at all, but yeah, let me know your thoughts on what you would like to see. I know I've gabbled a bit here, but I wouldn't be against having a couple different options on the Master League, so you can have authentic, where it's all licensed and you follow the same route. Anyone in there? No one in there to get on the end of it. Poor ball.
Look, this is so frustrating.
And perhaps I think they need to do something with the finance to make it a little bit more interesting, so you can, if you want, you know, look to grow a whole club. And I think that's what I want. I will want it personally. I want it so you can actually make it your club. You become everything, you know, the director, the CEO, the coach, everything really, the youth developer, you know, you decide everything about the future of the club. And then that impacts on how you take it forward. If you want to bring, you know, if you want to bring by world stars but not have the best stadium in town, for, you know, you might not raise enough money. But if you want to be youth, develop youth, then you can do it that way as well. Have options. Also have options where, you know, you've created the SP Spartans like we usually do, where you can take them into other leagues once it goes stale. Perhaps have a Legends League. You know, you've got the epic and legendary cards coming out all the time on Dream Team. Perhaps make a league of all the legends, like I did in 2020, and then go into those, you know, once you've won a couple divisions around the world, you can go into a Legend League for the ultimate prize. Why not? You know, it's a computer game, it's not real life. You know, if it was real life, you wouldn't be having players come back on the game, you know, would you, that have retired years ago? So it's about enjoyment, and I think that's what people want to see. Anyway, get over to PES Universe, check out all their videos on players. Just show you some of the players that I've got here. Obviously those are leveling up. It's going to be interesting to see how they do this on Master League with the leveling up, because obviously you can't have them leveling up as quick as they do here, because in a couple seasons they'll be leveled up. Hopefully they're going to try and sort out the form arrows on it as well, because that is one thing that's never really worked out on any Konami football game. You can score a hat-trick and the next game you can be on a down arrow. It needs to be linked with performance, really, those form arrows. You know, if you're a striker that hasn't scored for half a dozen games, then yes, by all means you might be on a down. But if you've just scored a hat-trick, you shouldn't be on a down the next game. And I think the ratings at the end of the match are awful, because it's always whoever scored the goal. You know, they can have one touch of the ball, score a goal, and they're man of the match. I think what they need to do with that, they need to look at who actually did. They need to get the algorithms right to who actually was the best player on the pitch, and perhaps give them, you know, more of a upgrade or more points if they have a certain rating over, I don't know, 7 or something. And maybe that's how they upgrade them. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but that is going to be so important to get it right, I think. The other thing I would say is also when players get older, perhaps have a thing where it's your choice what stats get taken away, like where you're adding on stats as they develop. When they reach a certain age and peak, perhaps you get told you've got to take so many stats away from them as they decrease. I don't know, just ideas. Anyway, thanks very much. I was going to say this guy here is one of my favourite players on the game. Probably played the most games. I got him very early on in the European Masters Cup. Malinovsky from Atalanta, and for me, he reminds me very much of Simic in the mode. He's got a bit of everything, and he's got a banger of a shot, and really like using him. Unwavering form, decent on the ball, low lofted pass, which is a nice thing to ping around from the outside. Yeah, so that's the sort of player that, you know, perhaps one from that a lot of people haven't used. But there is lots of little hidden gems in the game if you go and find them, some that are better than others. Sangari was another one that I enjoyed using in the early stages. Lang as well, he was a nice one. Just trying a few other ones now. Some of these I've just signed. Just got Baku, just got Fabra, just got couple old Spartans and Bola. Bruno Perez, went to see what they were like. Bazor and Titi. He's going to do a past Spartans team. Got so many players to try out, you know. Obviously you get regular ones from Team of the Week and stuff, and I think that's the way to perhaps enjoy it, is vary who you play with, have a mess around. Anyway, thanks very much for joining. I will see you, well, won't see you, but you'll hear from me very soon. Hopefully it won't be too long before there is an SB Spartan series. Cheers.